The world was called the Rust, and the name was perfect. It was a planet of forgotten things. Old ships, broken machines, and the dreams of people who had given up were all left here to rot. The air always smelled like metal and wet dirt. A slow, cold rain fell most of the time, making the giant piles of scrap shine under the dim light of the sky. Minsu moved through the canyons of junk. He was a scavenger. His job was to find pieces of technology that still had value. He would sell them for a few credits. His only goal was to save enough money to leave this place forever. He was young, but his eyes were old and tired. Life on the Rust was hard. Today he was exploring a huge dead freighter ship. It was half buried in a mountain of other wrecked ships. He used a small torch to cut his way through a broken door. The inside of the ship was dark and quiet. The only sounds were the drip of water and the creak of metal. His scanner beeped softly. It had found something with a power signature. It was weak, but it was there. He followed the signal deeper into the ship. He hoped it was a working computer core or a box of intact energy cells. That would be a good payday. He came into a large room. It must have been the ship's cargo hold. In the corner, partly covered by a fallen beam, was a human-shaped form. It was an android. Most of its outer shell was gone, showing the complex wires and metal skeleton underneath. It was clearly broken. Its chest was cracked open. Minsu sighed. A broken android was not worth much. Maybe he could sell its memory core or its power cell for a few credits. It was better than nothing. He stepped closer, his boots crunching on pieces of plastic. He shined his light on the android's face. It was designed to look like a young woman. The face was peaceful, as if it were sleeping. It was made very well. He had never seen an android model like this before. It looked expensive. He pulled out his tools. He needed to open the panel on the android's neck to get to the main power cell. As he reached out, his glove touched a loose wire near the android's chest. A spark of blue energy jumped from the wire to his tool. Suddenly, the android's whole body jerked. A low hum filled the quiet room. Lights flickered across its broken skeleton. Minsu jumped back, his heart pounding. He held his cutter like a weapon. The android's head turned slowly. Its eyelids opened. Minsu froze. The eyes were not the cold, bright lights of a machine. They were a warm, deep brown. They looked like real human eyes. They were full of confusion and something else, life. The android looked at him. Its voice was soft and clear, not like a machine's voice at all. "Thank you," it said. "You have reactivated me." Minsu could not speak for a moment. He just stared. You can talk?" "Yes," the android said. It tried to move its arm, but the wires held it down. "My designation is Jia. What is your name?" "Minsu," he answered without thinking. He was still in shock. "What are you?" "I've never seen an android like you." Jia's brown eyes seemed sad. "I do not know. My memory files are damaged. I know my name. I know I was on a mission, but I do not remember what it was. Or who made me." She looked around the dark cargo hold. "Where are we?" "This is the Rust," Minsu said. "A scrapyard planet. I found you here." He looked at her, at the real fear in her eyes, and his plan to sell her for parts vanished. He couldn't do it. She wasn't just a machine. She was a person. A lost person just like him. "We should go," Minsu said. He started cutting the wires that held her. "It's not safe here. The whole ship could collapse." He worked quickly. He managed to free her from the beam. She was unsteady on her feet. He let her lean on him as they walked back through the dark ship. Her body was light but strong. They finally stepped out of the freighter and into the rainy scrapyard. The cold air felt good after the smell of the old ship. Suddenly, a loud roar came from above. The rain from the sky was pushed away by a strong wind. A ship was coming down. It was not a scavenger ship. It was a military-style dropship painted black and gray. It looked fast and dangerous. Minsu's blood went cold. He knew that ship. It belonged to the Void Reapers. They were bounty hunters. They were the most dangerous people on the Rust. They took whatever they wanted and killed anyone who got in their way. "Get down," Minsu whispered loudly. He pulled Jia behind a large pile of engine blocks. The dropship landed roughly not far from them. The ramp slammed down. 5 figures walked out. They were all big and wore heavy armor. Their leader carried a large rifle that glowed with a mean red light. One of them held up a scanner. It beeped loudly, pointing directly toward their hiding spot. "The signal is coming from over there," the hunter said, his voice rough through his helmet. The leader nodded. The client wants the asset wiped clean. No memory, no trace. Destroy the core. Let's move. Minsu looked at Jia. Her eyes were wide with fear. He understood now. They weren't here to take her back. They were here to kill her, to wipe her mind and destroy her core. For them, it was just deleting data. For Minsu, who had looked into her brown eyes, it was murder. He made a decision in that second. He would not let them have her. Come on, he said, his voice tight. We have to run. He grabbed her hand and they started to run deeper into the scrapyard. They moved between the tall piles of metal, trying to stay out of sight. They're running, one of the hunters shouted. Energy blasts started to hit the metal around them, making it sizzle and melt. Minsu knew this scrapyard better than anyone. It was his home. He led Jia through narrow passages and under low-hanging beams. He used his knowledge to stay ahead of them. He pushed open a loose panel on a broken cargo container. In here, he said. They slipped inside and he closed the panel behind them. It was dark and cramped. They could hear the hunters' boots crunching outside. Where did they go? The signal is weak in all this metal. Minsu and Jia stayed perfectly still, not making a sound. Minsu could feel his heart beating hard in his chest. He could feel the slight tremble in Jia's hand. After a few long minutes, the sounds of the hunters moved away. Minsu let out a slow breath. I think they're gone. But as he said it, a shadow fell over them. The panel was ripped away. The leader of the Void Reapers stood there, his red rifle pointed at them. Clever little rat, the hunter said, but not clever enough. Minsu pushed Jia behind him, shielding her with his own body. Leave her alone, the hunter laughed. You can't protect a machine, boy. Now move or I'll burn a hole through you both. Minsu looked around desperately. They were on a high walkway. Below them was a deep pit. At the bottom of the pit, he could see the swirling, dangerous light of an old power conduit. It was unstable and full of raw energy. It was a death sentence to fall in there, but it was their only chance. He looked at Jia. He saw the trust in her eyes. He gave her a small nod. Then he turned back to the hunter. You want her? Come and get her. He grabbed Jia tightly. With all his strength, he jumped off the walkway, pulling her with him. They fell down into the bright, white light of the conduit. The hunter fired his rifle, but he was too late. Minsu and Jia disappeared into the energy below. As they fell, Minsu turned his body, wrapping his arms around Jia to protect her. The last thing he saw was the blinding white light. The last thing he felt was a tearing sensation, like the universe itself was ripping apart. Then everything went black. The first thing Minsu was aware of was the absence of pain. He had expected to be nothing, or to be burning in the energy of the conduit. But he was not. He felt fine. He was lying on something soft. The air did not smell of rust and oil. It smelled clean, like after a rain in a forest. He opened his eyes slowly. He was in a room with white, smooth walls. The light came from the ceiling itself, soft and warm. He was lying on a comfortable bed with clean sheets. He wore simple gray clothes that were not his own. He sat up, his body feeling strangely good. There were no aches from the scrapyard life. Then he remembered. The fall, the light, Jia. He looked around the room quickly. In a chair next to the bed, Jia sat perfectly still. She was watching him. Her body was whole. The cracks and broken parts were gone. She looked new. Her warm brown eyes were fixed on him. You are awake, she said. Her voice was the same soft tone he remembered. Jia, he said, relief washing over him. You're okay. Where are we? What happened? I do not know, she replied. I woke before you. My systems are fully repaired. I am functional, but my memory is still incomplete. I remember the fall. I remember you. She looked down at her own hands. I remember you protected me as we fell. Before Minsu could say more, a section of the wall slid open without a sound. Two people walked in. The first was a woman. She had a calm and intelligent face. Her eyes were sharp and kind. She wore simple dark blue clothes. The second was a man. He was broad-shouldered and had a friendly, strong face. He looked like someone who worked with his hands. The woman smiled. It is good to see you awake. How are you feeling? Minsu stood up, putting himself slightly between the strangers and Jia. Who are you? Where is this place? My name is Hana, the woman said gently. This is Day. You are in the city of Arcadia. You are safe here. Minsu had never heard of a city called Arcadia. It was not a name from the rust. How did we get here? We were falling into a power conduit. Day spoke, his voice deep and warm. The conduit was not just a power source, it was a gateway, an unstable one. Our systems detected the energy surge when you fell into it. It pulled you through. You arrived at the Aegis Spire, the heart of our city. Minsu tried to understand. A gateway? He looked from Hana to Day. They did not look like bounty hunters. They seemed peaceful, but he was still cautious. Why did you help us? He asked. Hana's smile was patient. It is what Arcadia does. It is a sanctuary, a place of safety. Safety from what? From everything, Day said, spreading his hands. From the galaxy outside, from time itself. Minsu did not understand. He looked at Jia, who was listening carefully. I need to see, he said. I need to see where we are. Hana nodded. Of course, follow us. She and Day led them out of the room and into a hallway. The walls were the same smooth white material. They walked to the end of the hall where a large curved window looked out over the city. Minsu stopped, his breath catching in his throat. He was not looking at a scrapyard or a dirty spaceport. He was looking at a city of dreams. Tall, graceful towers reached for a sky that was a perfect, soft blue. The buildings were not square and ugly. They flowed into each other with curves and spirals. Bridges that looked like woven silk connected the towers. Green plants grew on many of the buildings. A gentle, clean light came from everywhere. It was the most beautiful thing Minsu had ever seen. This is Arcadia, Hana said softly. A city hidden away. It exists in its own small piece of space. The outside world cannot find it easily. Who built this? Minsu whispered. People, Day said. A long, long time ago. People who wanted to save the best of humanity. They took Minsu and Jia down from the tower in a platform that moved without wires or sound. They walked out into the city. The air was fresh. People walked in the streets. They wore simple, comfortable clothes. They looked happy and healthy. No one looked hungry or afraid. But as Minsu looked closer, he saw strange things. He saw a woman with a fierce, proud face. She wore a simple dress, but she carried herself like a soldier. She looked exactly like a picture he had seen in an old history file of a famous fighter from old Earth. He saw a man with dark skin and intense eyes, drawing complex designs on a screen. The designs looked like buildings from ancient times. He saw another man with a strong posture, speaking to a group. His words had a rhythm and power that Minsu had never heard before. He turned to Hana. Who are these people? They look familiar. Hana looked at the people with a fond expression. They are the reason Arcadia exists. They are legends. Minsu stared at her. Legends? What do you mean? They are not copies, Day explained. They are the real people, the city's old systems. They watch. When a human is at the moment of a great, selfless sacrifice, when they are about to die to save others, the system sometimes activates. It pulls them here, at the last second before death. Minsu's mind could not accept it. That's impossible. That woman, she lived hundreds of years ago. Time is different here, Hana said. Arcadia exists outside of its normal flow. It preserves them. It saves the best examples of the human spirit. The bravery, the selflessness, the genius. All the people you see here were saved at the moment they gave their lives for something greater. Minsu felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He looked at Jia, then back at Hana. But that's not me, he said, his voice quiet. I'm not a hero. I'm not a legend. I'm a scavenger. I was just trying to survive. Hana placed a gentle hand on his arm. Minsu, you faced armed hunters to protect Jia. You knew you would likely die. In your final moment, you chose to shield her with your own body. The system does not make mistakes. But I'm nobody, he insisted. He felt like a fraud. These people were great leaders, artists, and warriors. He was just a boy from a junk planet. You are wrong, a new voice said. They turned. The woman who looked like the ancient soldier was standing nearby. She had been listening. She walked over to them. Her eyes were like steel. "A hero is not a title you are born with," she said to Minsu. "It is a choice you make in a single moment. You made that choice. Do not disrespect it by saying it was nothing." Minsu looked at the ground. He felt small. Day clapped him on the back. "Come, you and Gia must be hungry. Let us get some food. You will get used to it." They walked to a large, open area with tables. People were eating and talking. The food was fresh and tasted amazing to Minsu, who was used to food paste and dry crackers. As they ate, Minsu watched the people of Arcadia. He saw a man who could have been a great scientist from a century go laughing with a woman who might have been a famous poet. They were all here, living together in peace. He had a thought. The Void Reapers, the bounty hunters, can they find this place? Hana's calm face became serious. The gate you came through was unstable. It should have closed behind you. It would be very, very difficult for them to find the path you took. Arcadia has been safe for a very long time. Minsu hoped she was right. He looked at Gia. She was looking at the city, her brown eyes taking in everything. "It is peaceful here," Gia said softly. Minsu nodded. For the first time in his life, he was not fighting to survive. He was in a beautiful city, with people who called him a hero. He had food and safety, but he could not shake the feeling that he did not belong, and he could not forget the cold, determined eyes of the Void Reaper leader. He had a bad feeling that their escape was too easy, that the peace of this city of legends was about to be tested. The days in Arcadia were peaceful. Minsu started to learn the rhythms of the city. He walked in the quiet gardens. He ate meals with the others. He listened to their stories. The woman soldier, whose name was Sujin, told him about her fight for freedom on old Earth. The man who drew buildings, named Kwame, explained the mathematics of his great pyramids. Minsu felt like he was living in a museum. He was surrounded by greatness, and he still felt like a simple scavenger. But the people were kind to him. They did not treat him like an outsider. Gia stayed close to him. Her memory was still broken. She knew her name, and she knew Minsu. That was all. She seemed to enjoy the peace of the city. She would sit for hours, watching the light move across the towers. One afternoon, Minsu and Day were in a large workshop. Day was showing Minsu how the city's systems worked. Day was an engineer, a man who understood machines. He was from a time long before Minsu, but they shared a common language of tools and parts. "This panel controls the energy flow for this whole sector," Day said, pointing to a smooth screen. "It is very old technology, but it works perfectly." Suddenly the screen flickered. A low hum filled the room. Then, a sharp, loud alarm began to sound. It was a sound Minsu had never heard in Arcadia. It was a sound of danger. The soft blue light of the room turned to a flashing red. "What is that?" Minsu asked, his heart starting to race. Day's friendly face was tight with worry. "The perimeter alarm, someone is trying to break into our space." They ran out of the workshop and into the main hall. Hana and Sujin were already there, looking at a large view screen that had appeared on the wall. The screen showed the sky above Arcadia. The perfect blue was torn open. A dark, jagged shape was pushing its way through the tear. It was like a wound in the world. It was the Void Reaper's ship. Minsu's blood ran cold. "No," he whispered. "It's not possible." Hana's hands were shaking as she touched the screen. "They used the energy signature from your arrival. They followed the path you took. They are forcing their way in." The people of Arcadia began to gather in the hall. They looked up at the scary ship in their sky. Their faces were filled with fear and confusion. These were great people, but they were not soldiers. They were thinkers and artists. They did not know how to fight a battle like this. The Void Reaper's ship fired a powerful energy beam. It hit one of the beautiful curved towers. There was a loud explosion. Pieces of white stone and metal fell to the ground like rain. The city shook. Panic spread through the crowd. People started to shout and run. "We must evacuate the lower levels," Hana shouted, trying to be heard over the noise. "We need a plan," Sujin said, her voice strong. "We must defend the city." "How?" Kwame asked, his voice full of despair. "We are builders and dreamers. We do not have weapons. We do not know this kind of war." Minsu watched the chaos. He saw the fear in the eyes of these legends. They knew about honor and sacrifice, but they did not know about ruthless hunters and energy rifles. They were out of their time. He thought about the scrapyard. He thought about the way the Void Reapers moved. He knew how they thought. They were bullies. They used force and fear. They were not smart, but they were strong. He was not a great leader or a genius, but he was a survivor. He knew the enemy. He stepped forward. His voice was not loud, but it was clear. "I have a plan," Minsu said. Everyone turned to look at him, the young scavenger from the rust. "You?" someone said, their voice full of doubt. "Listen to him," Sujin commanded. Her eyes were on Minsu. She saw something in him. Not a legend, but a fighter. Minsu pointed to the view screen. "I know these hunters. They are called the Void Reapers. They are not an army. They are a small gang. They are tough, but they are not clever. Their ship is their base. If we can hurt the ship, we hurt them." Day nodded. "He is right. But how? Our systems are for life, not for war." "We do not need big weapons," Minsu said. He was thinking fast. "We use what we have. We use the city. We use their own greed against them." He turned to the group. "Day, you are an engineer. Are there power conduits under the city, like the one I fell into on the rust?" Day's eyes lit up. "Yes, a whole network of them. They give power to the city. Can you make one overload? Make it send a big surge of power to the surface?" Minsu asked. "Yes," Day said. "I can do that. But I must go to the central control to do it safely." "Good," Minsu said. He looked at Sujin. "You are a soldier. You know about traps and ambushes." Sujin stood straight. "I do. The Reapers will come for the central tower, the Aegis Spire. It is the biggest source of energy. They will want it. We lead them into the narrow streets. We make the streets our trap." A smile touched Sujin's lips. It was a soldier's smile. "Yes. We can do that. We can use the high walkways. We can drop things on them." Minsu looked at Kwame, the builder. "You understand structures. Can you find weak points? Places where we can make a bridge fall or a wall collapse?" Kwame looked nervous, but he nodded. I can. I do not like destruction. But to save the city, I can." "Good," Minsu said. He felt a strange calm. This was like planning a salvage run, but with much higher stakes. "Hana, you know the city best. You can guide people to safe places. Keep them away from the fighting." Hana nodded. "I will." Minsu turned to Jia. "Jia, I need you to stay with Hana. Stay safe." Jia looked at him. Her brown eyes were serious. "I can help. I am strong. I am fast." Minsu wanted to say no. He wanted to protect her. But he saw the determination in her face. She was not asking for permission. She was stating a fact. "Okay," he said. "You can help Sujin. You can be a messenger. You can move faster than anyone." The plan was set. The people of Arcadia, who moments before were lost, now had direction. They had a leader. They moved quickly. Day ran to the control room. Sujin and Kwame began to organize the others. They gathered tools and materials. They were not weapons, but they could be used like weapons. Pieces of metal, strong cables, heavy blocks of stone. Minsu went with a group to the main square in front of the Aegis Spire. This is where the Reapers would land. He looked at the beautiful buildings. He felt a pain in his heart. He did not want to see this place destroyed. He heard the roar of engines. Small pods shot out from the Reaper's ship. They landed in the square with heavy thuds. The ramps dropped. The Void Reapers stepped out, their heavy armor and red rifles looking ugly and out of place in the beautiful city. Their leader looked around. He saw the empty square and the quiet streets. "They are hiding," he growled. "Find the android. Tear this pretty city apart until you do." The hunters moved forward, into the narrow streets of Arcadia. They did not see the people watching from the high windows. They did not see the ropes being held tight. They did not know they were walking into a trap designed by a scavenger and built by legends. Minsu watched from the shadows. His hands were clenched into fists. This was his fight now. He was not a legend from a history book. He was a man defending his new home. And he would use every dirty trick he learned on the Rust to win. The battle for Arcadia began not with a roar, but with a whisper. The Void Reapers moved down the main street, their boots loud on the smooth stone. They were confident. They saw no soldiers, no weapons. They thought the city was helpless. Minsu watched from a high balcony with Sujin. He gave a small signal. On a rooftop, Kwame saw the signal. He pointed to a precise spot on a support beam of a decorative archway. Two strong men from Arcadia swung a heavy metal weight. It hit the beam exactly where Kwame showed them. There was a loud crack. The archway groaned and collapsed, falling into the street behind the hunters. It blocked their way back to the square. They were trapped in the narrow street. The Reapers spun around, surprised. "What was that?" one of them shouted. "An accident," the leader said, his voice annoyed. "Keep moving. The spire is ahead." They moved forward again, more carefully now. They came to a place where the street went between two tall buildings. It was a perfect spot for an ambush. Sujin nodded. "Now." From the windows above, people of Arcadia pushed out large nets made of strong vines. The nets fell on the hunters. The vines were tough and sticky. The hunters shouted and fired their rifles wildly. The energy blast hit the walls, leaving black marks. The nets slowed them down but did not stop them. The hunters used knives to cut themselves free. They were angry now. "They are fighting back," a hunter yelled. "They are just throwing trash," the leader snarled. "Find them! Shoot them!" The hunters started firing at the windows. People in the buildings had to duck and hide. The plan was working, but the hunters were too strong. Their armor protected them from falling rocks and nets. Minsu saw the problem. They were annoying the hunters, but not hurting them. They needed something bigger. "Day," Minsu said into a small communicator. "Are you ready with the power surge?" "I am ready," Day's voice came back. "But I need them in the right place. I need them on the main street near the Silver Tower." "We will lead them there," Minsu said. He looked at Jia. "Can you do it? Can you get their attention and lead them to the Silver Tower? Be careful. Just run. Do not fight." Jia nodded. Her face was calm. "I understand." She ran down a small staircase and into the street. She stepped out into the open in front of the hunters. "There," a hunter shouted, pointing at her. "The android, the asset." The leader smiled a cruel smile. "Get her!" Jia turned and ran. She was fast and graceful. She moved like water. The hunters ran after her, firing their rifles. The blasts missed her, hitting the ground and walls around her. Minsu watched, his heart in his throat. He trusted her, but he was afraid for her. Jia led them perfectly. She ran down the main street toward the tall silver tower that Day had mentioned. "Now, Day! Now!" Minsu shouted into the communicator. Down in the control room, Day pushed a sequence on his screen. Under the street, a large power conduit began to overload. Energy built up and up. Then, with a loud roar, it released the energy upward. The street where the hunters were running exploded. A wave of blue-white energy erupted from the ground. It threw 3 of the hunters into the air. Their armor smoked and sparked. They hit the ground and did not move. The leader and 1 other hunter were at the edge of the blast. They were thrown back, but their armor saved them. They got up, shaken and furious. Jia was safe. She had reached the end of the street and ducked into a building. The leader looked around. He had lost most of his men. His helmet was cracked. He was filled with a cold, hard rage. "Enough of these games," he spat. He looked toward the tallest building in the city, the Aegis Spire. "They are protecting that tower. That is where we need to go." He and his last hunter began to march toward the spire. They did not care about the traps anymore. They fired their rifles at anything that moved. They were going straight to the heart of the city. Minsu saw them going. "They are heading for the spire. We have to stop them." He and Sujin ran down from the balcony. They used small back passages to get to the spire first. They met Dae, Hana, and Jia at the base of the great tower. "They are coming," Minsu said, breathing hard. "We cannot let them inside," Hana said. "The core of the city is in there. It is what holds Arcadia together." Suddenly, the large doors of the spire shook. Then they exploded inward. The Void Reaper leader stood there, his rifle smoking. His last hunter was behind him. The leader stepped into the great hall of the spire. The room was round and beautiful. In the center was a large crystal column that glowed with a soft, pulsing light. It was the heart of Arcadia. "It's over," the leader said. He pointed his rifle at them. "Give me the android and I might let some of you live." Minsu stepped in front of Jia again. "No," the leader laughed. "You are a stubborn little pest. I will enjoy this." He raised his rifle to shoot Minsu. But then something happened to Jia. She cried out and put her hands to her head. The crystal column in the center of the room began to glow brighter. Beams of light reached out and touched Jia. Her eyes shone with the same light. She stood straight. Her voice was different. It was clear and full of power. "Accessing primary memory files," she said. "Systems integration complete. I remember now." She looked at the Void Reaper leader, her gaze sharp and intelligent. "You are not here just to destroy an android," she said. "Your employers want Arcadia. They want the power of the Aegis Spire." The leader looked surprised for a moment, then he grinned. "So the machine has a brain after all. Yes, this city is a treasure. The technology here is worth a fortune, and you are the key to controlling it." Jia turned to Minsu and the others. Her expression was sad but determined. "He is right. I am not just an android. I am the guardian key. My core consciousness is linked to the spire. I am the one who stabilizes this pocket of space. Without me, the city would fall apart. If they take my core and reprogram me, they will control Arcadia and all its technology. They will turn this sanctuary into a weapon." Minsu stared at her. He had protected her because she was a person. Now he learned she was also the soul of the entire city. The leader took a step forward. "A weapon? I like the sound of that. Now come with me, Ki." "Never," Jia said. The leader raised his rifle. "Then I will take your core from your broken body." Minsu looked around desperately. He saw a control panel on the wall near Dae. It was for the city's emergency systems. Hana had shown it to him once. An idea came to him. "A dangerous, terrible idea," Minsu whispered. "The citywide EMP, the emergency shutdown protocol." Dae's eyes went wide. "No, Minsu. That will release a pulse of energy. It will stop their technology. It will freeze their armor and weapons, but it will also shut down everything else. It will shut down the life support. It will put Jia into a deep sleep. The city will go dark. People could die. Do we have a choice?" Minsu asked, his voice hard. "If he takes her, everyone dies. This way we have a chance." The Void Reaper leader aimed his rifle at Jia. "Goodbye, Ki." Minsu made his decision. He looked at the leader. "You see a thing to be controlled," Minsu said. "I see a person to be protected." He slammed his hand down on the emergency control panel. A loud, piercing alarm filled the spire. A voice said, "Emergency pulse initiated. Total system shutdown in 10 seconds. The leader looked confused, then angry. "What did you do?" 9, 8. The voice counted. The hunter with the leader fired his rifle at Minsu. Sujin pushed Minsu out of the way. The blast hit her shoulder. She cried out and fell. 7, 6. The Reaper leader ran toward Jia. He was going to grab her before the pulse hit. 5, 4. Minsu jumped at the leader. He was not a fighter, but he was desperate. He tackled the big man, knocking him away from Jia. 3, 2. The leader threw Minsu off like a rag doll. He stood up and reached for Jia again. 1. A wave of pure white energy exploded from the crystal column. It washed over the entire city. The lights went out. The hum of the spire stopped. The Void Reaper leader and his hunter froze in place. Their armor went dark. Their rifles powered down. They were trapped inside their own suits, unable to move. The city of Arcadia was completely silent and completely dark. Minsu lay on the floor, breathing heavily. The only light came from the stars through the broken door. He had saved them, but he had also shut down the city. He did not know if he had just killed everyone to save them. In the quiet darkness, he did not know if he was a hero or a fool. The silence was the most frightening thing. Arcadia was never silent. There was always the soft hum of power, the whisper of air systems, the distant sounds of people. Now there was nothing. The city was dark and still as a tomb. Minsu pushed himself up from the cold floor. His body ached from the fight. The only light came from the moon and stars outside the broken door of the spire. It was a pale, weak light. He could see the dark shapes of the two Void Reapers. They stood like statues frozen by the energy pulse. Their weapons were dead. They were no longer a threat, Jia. Minsu's voice was a rough whisper in the dark. Hana, Day? A groan came from nearby. I am here, Minsu. It was Day. Sujin is hurt, Hana's voice said, tight with worry. The blast hit her shoulder. She is bleeding. Minsu felt a surge of fear. Without the city's medical systems, even a small injury could be deadly. He crawled toward their voices. His hands touched someone's arm. It was Jia. She was lying on the floor, perfectly still. Her eyes were closed. She looked like she was sleeping, but he knew it was more than that. The pulse had put her core systems to sleep. We need power, Minsu said. We need to get the life support back on. The main systems are shut down, Dai said. His voice was weak. The pulse was meant to stop everything. It will take hours to reboot from the central control. We do not have hours. The air will get bad. The temperature will drop, Minsu thought quickly. His mind went back to the rust, to the broken ships and dead systems. He was a scavenger. His job was to find power where there seemed to be none. There are backup systems, right? Minsu asked. Every ship has backups. This city must have them too. It does, Day said, a little hope in his voice. There are small power nodes in each sector, but they are not connected to the main grid now. We would have to start them by hand, one by one. Then that is what we will do, Minsu said. He stood up. Day, can you walk? I think so, Day said, getting to his feet. Good, you know where the nodes are. You are the engineer. I am just a scavenger, but I know how to reroute power. We will work together. He turned to Hana in the dark. Hana, stay with Sujin and Jia. Try to stop the bleeding with pieces of your clothes. Keep them warm. I will, Hana said. Minsu and Day moved toward the broken door. The city outside was a landscape of shadows. The beautiful towers were dark shapes against the starry sky. It was cold. The nearest node is in that building, Day said, pointing to a structure across the square. We need to get the primary line connected to the secondary grid. It is like giving a jump start to an old engine. They ran across the square. Their footsteps echoed in the terrible silence. The door to the building was locked, but the power was out. Minsu used a piece of broken metal to force it open. Inside, it was pitch black. Day used the light from his communicator, which had a small backup battery. The beam was weak, but it was enough. There, Day said, pointing to a panel on the wall. The node is behind that. Minsu used his tools to open the panel. Inside was a complex web of wires and crystals. It was more advanced than anything on the Rust, but the basic idea was the same. Power in, power out. Show me which line is the primary and which is the secondary, Minsu said. Day pointed. The blue crystal is the primary. The green one is the secondary. They need to be connected, but the circuit is broken. We need to close it. Minsu looked at the system. He saw a gap between the two crystals. He needed a conductor. He looked at a thin silver wire in another part of the panel. This will work, he said. He carefully cut the wire with his tool. He stripped the ends. His hands moved with a skill learned from years of taking apart broken machines. He connected one end of the wire to the blue crystal. He connected the other end to the green crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a small spark jumped between the wires. The crystals began to glow with a soft green light. A low hum started from the panel. Lights flickered on in the hallway outside the room. You did it, Day said, his face full of relief. You started the backup power for this sector. One down, Minsu said, wiping sweat from his forehead. How many more? Many, Day said. But this is a start. The life support in this area will come on now. The air will be good. It will be warm. They moved to the next building and the next. Minsu worked with a focused energy. He was not a legend from history. He was a man with a job to do. He used his simple, practical knowledge to wake up the great city. Day guided him, amazed by the scavenger's skill. As they worked, other people from Arcadia who had been hiding in the dark saw the lights come on. They came out to help. Kwame, the builder, understood structures and helped them find the best paths. Others brought them water and food. Slowly, section by section, the city began to wake up. Lights came on in the towers. The quiet hum of machines returned. The cold air became warm again. After several hours, they had restored power to most of the city. The immediate danger was over. Minsu and Day returned to the Aegis Spire. The lights were on there too. Hana had used power from a nearby node to get basic systems running. Sujin was sitting up, her shoulder wrapped in a clean bandage. She looked pale, but she smiled when she saw them. "You did it," she said to Minsu. "You saved the city." "We did it together," Minsu said. He walked over to Jia. She was still lying on the floor. He knelt beside her. "The systems are back online," Hana said softly. "Her core should be rebooting now." As if on command, Jia's eyelids fluttered. Then they opened. Her warm brown eyes found Minsu's face. For a first time, he saw a true deep emotion in them. It was gratitude. It was warmth. It was human. "Minsu," she whispered. "I am here," he said, taking her hand. "I saw it," she said. In the silence, I could feel it. "You were fixing the city. You were saving everyone." She slowly sat up. "You saved me again." She looked around the spire at the people watching her. Then she looked back at Minsu. "My memory is fully restored. I am the guardian of Arcadia. This is my purpose, but I choose my purpose now. I will protect this city, and I will protect you." The people of Arcadia gathered around them. They looked at Minsu not with doubt, but with respect. With admiration, Hana stepped forward. She put a hand on Minsu's shoulder. "You wondered why you were brought here, Minsu," she said. "It was not just for the sacrifice you made on the rust. It was for the choices you would make after. A hero is not defined by one moment. He is defined by what he does next. You did not give up. You used your skills to save us all. You are one of us now." Minsu looked at their faces. He saw Sujin the soldier, Day the engineer, Kwame the builder, Hana the archivist. He saw Jia the guardian. He did not feel like an imposter anymore. He felt like he was home. He was no longer Minsu the scavenger. He was Minsu, the guardian of Arcadia. Later, he stood with Jia on a high balcony. The city sparkled below them, more beautiful than ever. The 2 frozen Void Reapers had been taken away. The damage from the battle was being repaired. The city of legends was safe, and he had found his place in it. He had finally found a family and a purpose. He faced the future not with fear but with hope.